Hello and welcome to the self-marriage interviews. Today I'm interviewing Hazel-Grace Yates about her self-marriage. Thank you so much for being willing to talk with me.
You're so welcome. I'm
I'm
excited.
like loving like you're leaning forward already. I'm saying this is gonna be good.
That's me real good. Real good.
So, what inspired you to marry yourself, Hazel-Grace?
You know, I can't remember the exact, this was 9 years ago. So I don't remember the exact moment or like when it even became an idea, but I do know that up until that point in my life, I had pretty much experienced toxic, unhealthy relationships. And it was baffling to me because my parents had this beautiful, long, happy marriage. And it was just so frustrating to me. And I was on this like self help development, self-love, deep practice. And it was just like, kind of like, fuck it. I'm going to be with myself for the rest of my life. And so I want to make a commitment to myself and have this beautiful ceremony. And then I also remember witnessing other people's ceremonies. And I was like, I want that. I want that. And at some point it dawned on me, maybe hearing about somebody else's self-marriage, like I can actually give that to myself and it can go exactly how I want it to go.
Yes, I love that. Noticing the desire, or even, I don't know if it was jealousy for you, but I often find jealousy runs in that same line as the guiding point to get you
Mm,
to whatever it is you really want.
yeah.
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 So tell us more about that day.
Okay. So, um, it was at Burning Man, which if you knew me before Burning Man and after Burning Man, you would have some indication of the significance of Burning Man. And I'd been going for many, many years. And every year I would go, it would be this massive transformational healing evolution of myself. And most of those moments happened at the temple, which is the heartbeat or the sacred space of Burning Man. And so I would say I would go to Burning Man because of the temple. And so um, I had envisioned when I was very clear that I wanted to have a self-marriage ceremony. I was very, very instantly clear. I knew exactly where it was and when it was going to be. It was going to be in the day where it's white, everyone wears white, and there's a bunch of ceremonies that happen at the temple and at sunrise. So it was very, very clear. And I remember one of the things I was most excited was finding a fashion designer to make my wedding dress. And I saw her at a party and I was like, who made your outfit? And she was like, I did. I was like, I'm getting married and I want you to make my outfit. And what she does is she upcycles clothes. And so she goes in thrift stores and takes things. And so she completely created my wedding outfit from fabrics, and it was just extraordinary that it was like specifically designed for me and I got to support this local artist. So yeah, so that's where it was, and that was why it was so significant, this birthplace of my rebirthing of myself again and again and again and again, and the potency of that morning of sunrise when there's so many ceremonies happening and everyone's wearing white and it's just like such a sacred place. And okay, so I'm going to pause there and kick it back to you. And what's the next question?
Like you were in control of this interview. I'm digging it. What you said brought up a thought for me. A lot
Uh-huh.
of times, a self marriage is an opportunity to practice hearing our intuition and tapping into what we want. It
Hmm.
sounds like you heard it and you went, you committed. Was there ever any second guessing, or did you hear your intuition and just go for it?
Yeah, it was just, yeah, there was just no question. And there was just also like this complete radical permission and freedom. Like it doesn't have to look like anybody else's. I never researched anybody else's ceremonies. Like this is my ceremony and I get to create it exactly how I want. So yeah, so there was just no second guessing. And I do remember, actually, this is one of the most significant things that happened in a lot of the significant things happened. If I haven't said this already, this was by far one of the most important, magical, powerful, potent days of my entire life. And one of the reasons was I had made the decision like 8 or 9 months before the wedding. So I had 8 or 9 months to plan it. And I was dating someone at the time. And I told him when we were dating, I'm like, I'm going to get married to myself on this day at this place and la, 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 la. So I told him while we were dating. He broke up with me like a couple months later, and it was devastating, and it was a heartbreak. And I was like deeply in love with this man. And what was so upsetting is he never told me why he ended the relationship. And he wasn't willing to have any sort of closure, completion conversation with me. And so I was just heartbroken, confused, lost, it was just abrupt. And then like a month later, he started dating my best friend. And I was in support of them, and I was still heartbroken that this man wouldn't have a conversation with me. And my best friend and I, we made a declaration. We said, we're going to declare that by the time we get to Burning Man, that the three of us are going to be in a good enough way that like the three of us can be in a good space together. And it was just this powerful declaration. And the ceremony was happening, and moments before the ceremony happened, and I hadn't talked to him in months. I didn't even know he was at Burning Man. I see him and her walking towards the ceremony, and they were wearing white. And then like, it was my ceremony, so I got to stop the ceremony. It was like, I have to stop the ceremony. And I walked over to him, and I placed my hand on his heart, and he placed his hand on my heart. And I said, I was never mad at you. I was just deeply sad, and I needed to feel my sadness. And he was like, I get it now. And there was just like nothing in the way between him and I, of just like such love and care. And my best friend and I, the three of us got to be there. So it was like the very thing that my best friend and I had said happened moments before my ceremony. And actually, I do have that photo that I want to pull up. Can I pull that up?
Of course. For our viewers and listeners, okay, as we're going through this story, Hazel-Grace is going to be pulling up
this is the moment.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Mm-hmm. It's gorgeous. That's you on the right with the feathers and the white dress, correct?
Yep. And
beautiful.
And then the pink is my best friend, and then that's Agave, the man that I hadn't talked to since he broke up with me many months before. And I had no idea he was at Burning Man. So, whew, yeah, that was.
And what part of that on your self-marriage felt the most impactful to you? Was it the idea that this declaration had come true? Was it the idea that you'd moved this tension out of your space before you committed to yourself? What was it exactly?
Yeah, so one of the inspirations for me to have this self-marriage ceremony was like, what is it that I can and need to do within my own self so that I'm prepared to meet a partner that I can share my life with? And so the part of this ceremony was for me to be totally in love with myself and commit to loving myself for the rest of my life, so that it increases the possibility that I'm more ready for a healthy relationship. And part of that was cleaning and clearing and completing any unhealthy relationships that happened in the past, right? And so for me, and like that was what was so challenging and struggling about this particular breakup. It was like I was willing to do the work, but he wasn't. And it's like I can only get so close. I can only do so much closure and completion on my own. Mm. And so it was, yeah. And yeah, like what Trinity and I did, we created, like, we are such powerful manifestors and creators, and like to see that come, like literally that dream, that reality come into fruition moments before the ceremony was just extraordinary.
Wow.
Yeah.
As you said that too, I focused in on the point you made where you stopped the ceremony. So again, your intuition is like, there's something you need, and then you go and you do it. How do you feel your intuition in those moments? What does it feel like for you?
It feels like, it's like my body is already moving in action. There's no thought, there's no second guessing it, there's no doubting it. It's just like I'm just moving.
Yes.
It's like walking. Like, how do you walk? How do you take steps? I don't know. I'm just moving forward and my foot catches me. And there's just it's in flow. It's like there's no second guessing it. It's just I'm in action. It also reminds me of that when I went out. That's why I love Burning Man. There were a lot of pieces to the ceremony that I had really clear, like this was going to happen. And then there were pieces that I just trusted were going to happen, including my officiants. I didn't have officiants when I got out to Burning Man. So it was like, when I was at Burning Man, I was like hunting of like, who's going to be my officiant. And then, and then I met this magical being that was at my camp. And I asked her, and she said, I would be honored. And she's this mystical, powerful ceremonial leader. And she was like, and I feel like you need a man as well. And she's like, let me ask my best friend. His name was Seven, Burning Man name. And so I also remember before the ceremony, he said to me, he goes, by the way, I am an officiant underneath Dalai Lama. I am sanctioned under Dalai Lama to facilitate ceremonies. And it was just like, and then just like this thing came over me to imagine like the spirit of the Dalai Lama approving and like being a guide, or the spirit that like calling in the spirit of Dalai Lama in that ceremony was just like, whoa, amazing.
Yeah. If we needed any additional credibility for self-marriage, other than the fact that everyone says it's one of the most pivotal experiences of their lives, we now have it thanks to the Dalai Lama.
Uh-huh. Totally.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
you mentioned that one of the most pivotal experiences came at the end of the wedding, and I can't wait to hear what it is, because the wedding's already been full of cool things.
Oh, okay. So, I also had a date, which was really sweet. I had a date escort me out. I will get to this answer, but I want to talk a little bit about the procession of the wedding party. Mm-hmm. And who I invited, basically like anybody I met at Burning Man. I was like, by the way, I'm getting married if you want to come. It's basically anyone who wanted to come. I had about 30 people. I had some of my very dear best friends and campmates there. And then I had a bunch of random people that I met. And then I had people that would see the ceremony and they would start coming over. So, right. So it was like, it was a wide variety of who was there. And in the morning, what was really cute is I didn't look at a mirror in the morning. Like I didn't look at the bride. I didn't see the bride. And my campmates, and it's like almost a mile to walk from my camp to the temple. And one of my campmates brought this giant gold framed mirror and like carried this out in the, in the desert, hiking it out. And so there's this sweet little procession of my friends from camp to the temple. And I was on the arm of my date. Oh, let me show you my date, because he was adorable. This was my date to my self-wedding. His name is Flash. We had met several days before and we were having fun going around Burning Man. Okay, so Flash, at the end of the ceremony. Oh, okay, so this also happened. I had flowers, fake flowers, and I was speaking my vows into the mirror, right? And actually the mirror. So part of the ceremony, it was like, okay, are you ready to see the bride? And so they had the mirror and they turned the mirror around and I got to see myself and I just started crying because I was just like, oh my gosh, I get to be with her for the rest of my life. And it was like, I was crying like a typical groom would see his wife, his bride coming down the thing. And it was just like, yeah, that was a really sweet, powerful moment. Okay, so I had the flowers and I was speaking the vows, and my officiants told me the vows and I would speak the vows into the mirror. And so after the ceremony was done, I impulsively was like, okay, this ceremony is complete. I now pass the flowers to whoever else is ready to marry themselves right now. And I handed the flowers to someone and other people held up the mirror and then they would just like impromptu self-marry themselves. And then somebody else would say, who's ready to marry themselves? This went on for like 3 hours, that people would hold the mirror up for people and people would take the flowers. And at this point, 3 hours later, nobody who was by the mirrors and the flowers doing this thing were at the original ceremony. This just got created, like this thing just got created and people kept doing it with each other. So it was like, I don't even know how many people married themselves after I married myself. It was so awesome. That was one of my favorite parts too, of like, what a beautiful invitation to declare and invite and to step into commitment to loving oneself. Okay, so at the end of the ceremony with Flash, my date, I put my arm around him and he said, is there anything else that you would like to have created to make this the day of your life? And I said, yes. I have a desire that my partner, so this was the one man, a past partner that I still felt incomplete with. And there was a lot of abuse and a lot of intensity and a lot of love. And I said, I want this man, I'm not going to say his name because I didn't get permission. I got Agave's permission. I want this man to trust himself, to know that I love him and that I forgive him. And I want him to love himself. And I want him to forgive himself for what we went through. And he was like, great. So 20 seconds later, I walk into the temple with Flash and he's standing. My ex-partner that I just said that about was standing right there. And he had a Sharpie magic marker in his hands. And I literally almost fainted and collapsed. And like Flash literally like had to hold myself up. And I just started crying and he was crying and we came and we held each other and we were just crying. And Flash stayed with me, which was really sweet. And I took my ex-partner's hand and he walked me over without saying anything. And he pointed to the wall of the temple. So, which you may or may not know, that the temple, people write on the temple messages to whomever, apologies, love letters, grief, anger, like it's just, you get to express, right? And so he just let me see what he wrote. And it said, like, Dear Queen Bee, which was my name, I'm so sorry for the way that I treated you. I love you. And it's just this whole message about him apologizing and forgiving himself. It was just this series of manifestation that were happening so fast. So at that moment, whenever we had that moment, it was like, I feel clear, complete with all of my past relationships on the day that I married myself. Whew.
What do you make of all that rich manifestation that happened on your self-marriage?
I make it mean that I did the work that I was set out to do, and I was prepared to be in a healthy relationship with somebody else. And there was fast manifestation on that day. And even though it took like 5 years later, I think, or so, I am now in the happiest, healthiest, most stable, secure, expansive, supportive relationship. And it's been 2.5 years. And there were many times in my life that I thought I was going to have to go through this life and to not have that. And that was the very thing that I wanted more than anything. So, yeah, I feel like I got the gift of all the deep work that I did. And because of that ceremony, because of my commitment to myself, I'm now getting the very thing that I wanted, which is a happy, healthy relationship.
I'm so appreciating how meaningful it is to you. I love that even after, this was 2014, right? Like after
2013, yeah.
2013. So after 8 years, like it still has this emotional impact on you.
Yeah, totally.
You said that you invited lots of people as you were going through Burning Man. And I'm curious, for the friends that you invited who you knew would be there, did you assign any of them roles that were helpful for you?
I had my officiants. And then I had my maid of honor, my best girlfriend. I didn't have any other roles for my friends. Yeah, not that particular wedding. I had another wedding that I'm not going to talk about right now, but that one was, there were not very many roles for that one.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And would you be willing to share your vows with us from that day?
Yes. And it's interesting because when you asked me to do this interview, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to dig this out. And some part of me felt a little sad that I was like, I don't even know where they are.
Mm.
And I'm like really appreciative of this interview for me to like touch back into this because, and the thing that I'm surprised by, so it's 2021. I wrote these in 2013. And the thing that I'm surprised by is like, if I were to have a self-marriage ceremony, I wouldn't change much or add much. And that's the thing that I'm like shocked by. Like I changed so much and I was able to create vows that I can still really stand behind. I would probably make some refinements, but like, excuse me. Yeah. So I will read them now. Okay, so this is 2013 Queen Bee's Self and Humanity Wedding Vows. So I'll in my vows, I'll share another piece that I haven't talked about yet, because I didn't just marry myself, I've also married humanity. So I vow to shine my light as bright as I can shine it. As I am clear, there is infinite space for myself and everyone to be their brightest selves. I vow to bring loving compassion to my self-saboteur. I vow to own my beauty, power, strength, wisdom, truth, brilliance. I vow to embrace the myriad of emotions as I experience them. I vow to love all of myself, the shadow and the light. I vow to choose the lifestyle that supports me into growing and blossoming into the most magnificent being I can be. I vow to connect my sacred feminine and sacred masculine, creating divine balance. I acknowledge and give thanks to the ancestors and teachers of my past who have given me the gift of wisdom. I vow to every human being on the planet to love you without condition until my last breath on this planet. I request from my community, my witnesses, to support me in these sacred declarations to your greatest capacity. If you accept my request, I ask that you place one hand on your heart and say, I do.
And what's your favorite part of those vows?
And I want to show a picture. So that's a picture of my maid of honor, my best friend, but that's just a picture of some of the people that were there.
Gorgeous.
Oh, there's me kissing the bride.
Love it.
And I don't have a picture of me, but I start having coitus with myself. I'm basically humping the mirror at some point. It's really funny. I'm also a sex educator, sexual healer, so I'm pro. And there's the temple behind me that I was talking about, and that's my wedding dress designer. And you can see that little bee, the wings on my shoulder because I'm queen bee, and so someone gifted me that the morning of my wedding. I didn't know they were going to give it to me, so that was really sweet. And then that's my magical mystical officiant. Her name is Meander, and that's my face on my wedding day. Yeah, so those are some of the photos. And your question was, what do I love about those vows? I mean, if I'm tracking myself emotionally and somatically as I was sharing these, the part that I felt most impacted by was acknowledging and giving thanks to the ancestors and teachers of my past who have given me the gift of wisdom. Mm. And the last couple of years, I've been doing some deep work into Indigenous allyship and what that's looked like for me to show up in support of Indigenous people is for me to do my own work, including going to Ireland and Scotland and England, where my lineage is from, and giving the gift of the local Indigenous people for me to do my own work and connect into my own roots, and just try and start linking up my past and my history so that I'm coming to them from a place of like me having studied my own history, as opposed to be like, give me what you got, give me what you got, right? So that's, and part of that, I have made my lineage and my ancestors wrong for being colonizers and being like, how dare you come to this country? And doing that, I'm like making them wrong. And I actually don't know. I don't know their history. I don't know why. I don't. And so if I'm making them wrong, I'm making me wrong on a very deep DNA level, right? And so in the last years, I've been doing healing work with my ancestors, my lineage, my line. And also in that is like really celebrating and acknowledging the ones who've done their deep, beautiful work. Because the truth is, Megan, me coming into this life, I came into this life with a lot of love, a lot of strength, a lot of like power and wisdom. Like I was born into that. And I deeply believe in ancestral and epigenetics, and like, that's no accident. Like that didn't just happen. That happened because of the work that the people before me did. And I also got some of the wounds, and I get to do that work, right? In this lifetime, I get to help those wounds. But like, I guess the thing that I'm surprised by like my 13-year-old self, even had a connection to that then. And somehow that one feels more potent to me now. So I'm just a little bit like, kind of like awestruck by my much younger self that had any sort of connection to my ancestors. It almost like I said that, but maybe didn't feel it then. But now I'm like, poof, like really impacted by the work I've done in the last many years.
How did you write your vows? Did you write them, sat down, cranked them out? Did you write them, walk away, think about it, come back?
I think I like marinated and permitted and thought of them for many months. And it was kind of like, I trusted that it would come. And I went to the temple by myself, and I sat in the temple for a long time by myself, which if you know me, I don't hang out by myself for long. And I definitely don't hang out at the temple by myself long because I'm like such an extrovert. So for me to sit in the temple and journal and really they just came. And so I'm just, again, it's like that place, that space, the temple, the energy of that temple is something really magical for my being.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
What on that day do you think is the most important commitment that you made to yourself?
Compassion for myself. And remembering, and when I say compassion for myself, I have a deep foundational truth, or belief, I should say, not truth, not like I'm right, but like my belief is that all of us are doing our best. And it sometimes is really hard to see that. Sometimes when I see other people, I'm like, wow, that's your best. But like on a deep level, I actually believe that. And the more that I can believe that about myself, the more that I can believe that about others. And the more that I believe that about myself, even in my shittiest, hardest, most critical day, hardest days, making mistakes or whatever, it's like, that really is the medicine, is to have compassion for myself. Knowing that like I am doing the best I can based on what I was born into and based on the experiences that I've had. And if there was any way I could have made a choice that was better, I would have, but I didn't, because I didn't have a better option. So yeah, so it's just radical compassion for myself, to me, is the most important. And also thanking our ancestors. We all have ancestors. I know for a while I was like, oh, I'm not allowed to say ancestors because that's cultural appropriation. I'm like, nope, I have ancestors. Everybody has ancestors.
You got them. You got them. We all got them.
That might be like actually one of the only things that we all have in common as human beings, is we all have ancestors. So far, until we start making babies somehow from not humans. But so far, that feels like a commonality.
Nice. So, you made this commitment of self-compassion for yourself. You committed yourself in so many other ways through your self-marriage. What's the impact on your life been? You mentioned your partner now, but what else?
Yeah, I mean, in this moment, it's like, for me in this moment, I'm like, what else is there? To love myself, to have compassion for myself, and for me to own my brilliance as much as I possibly can, and to have a partner that I get to share this life with. Like, that's the most significant. Yeah.
So, what would you say to others who are considering self-marriage?
Yes, is what I would say. I don't know why this is coming in right now, and I'm just going to trust it. But I changed my name legally, not because of my self-marriage, because I didn't like my name. And I kind of didn't know there was an option until I knew it was an option. And to me, it was a significant rite of passage in my life. And to me, that the self-marriage was a significant rite of passage. And I think that because of our colonization, because of our culture that we have today, we have so few rites of passages. We have so few ceremonies, and it's been lost. There's grief in the loss of ceremonies and traditions and rites of passage. So, and while there's grief and while there's loss, there's also this open canvas that says, what do you want to create? And as I said this before, I didn't look up anybody else's self-marriage. It was just like, I just want to create my own. And so do it how you want to do it, including if you want to do a bunch of research and find out what everybody else did, and you can pick and choose what you want, or consider the possibility of just making it up. Or gathering the people around you to help them co-create and make this a communal experience. I think that not only was this a gift to me to get to do this ceremony, but it was such a powerful gift to others to get to witness it and to see what's possible. And so, yeah, and that's the other thing, like some self-marriages, you might want to do it on your own, and that's going to be really powerful for you too. And like, there's just no right way to do it. It's really whatever is calling to you. And it doesn't have to be one time. You can marry yourself as many times as you want.
Yes. It makes me think, do I want to marry myself again at some point? But I'm loving planning my upcoming anniversary. So maybe not for a while.
Ooh, you're planning an anniversary.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
So final question for you. As we were going into this interview, you said getting to do this interview is a gift. What feels special about it?
touching in and remembering what a potent manifester I am. Getting to reconnect with these vows that feel like they were channeled. Something was being channeled through me. So just to like, I feel like almost feel like I got to marry myself all over again. It almost felt like an anniversary, like got to relive it. And also just like this, I guess I'm still just kind of awestruck again by my younger, wiser self who knew the importance of giving thanks to my ancestors. And so I'm just like, yeah, I'm just kind of like, so this is what the self-marriage ceremony is like. And this is that moment when the mirror turned around. I'm a little bit like adoring myself, or just like in awe of myself, and just kind of like, whoa, you're just so amazing, you're so cool, and like I'm so inspired by you. And I get to do that. Like I have permission to do that. I have permission to be in awe of myself and adore myself and be blown away by myself. And so that is another gift that I've gotten in this time. It's like, wow, that's amazing. I get to be with me forever. Fucking cool.
I feel delighted to have witnessed you revisiting it all, and you lit up, just talk, 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 talk. It's wonderful energy to be with. So thank you for taking the time and for sharing your wisdom and your experience with all of us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a really gift. It was fun.